that you, the AFC as a government, will now
You got to
make
be
18 years.
you got to be a Guyanese.
Right. So
Born
you
Guyanese,
have
the same.
750,000. Let's
Yeah.
say 2/3 of those are
No.
above the age of 18.
Yeah. Well, as you know, we have problems with the
Right.
population. Let's say let's pick a figure.
Right. Let me say
750,000.
let's say 750,000. 2/3 of those are high above 18 years old.
That's no. We say
Right now.
as you become 18. We're not saying everybody will now get it. So as you become 18, you will get a house lot.
20 right now don't qualify
No,
based on what
we will look at the data after we have managed the process of giving everybody as they become 18 a house lot. We will look at how we can deal with the rest.
Yeah.
But right now we want.
What percent of the population becomes 18 in any given year?
I'm not sure. I know somewhere around, I can't give you the percentages, somewhere around 15, 16,000 students graduate every year, I believe. So I figure that's probably about a fair estimate of how many people will become 18 in any given year.
Right. So here what's happening.
I just want to clarify, we're not saying, look, we're giving a free house lock to every citizen at this moment. The country can't manage that. What we're saying for the future. That's why education goes in tandem with what we're doing for development.
Right.
And we're saying, look.
And here is happening in my head, and that's what I'm saying. I'm liking this discussion. Should the AFC form the next government, you will be inheriting a housing department with all the existing challenges that obtain right now. Where do you get the manpower from to turn the ship around? Because not only are you now giving house lots to the 18,000 people who are students who are turning 18 and graduating, you still have this backlog of people who are 18 and older who are still lining up for hours and having problems with obtaining the house lot that they applied for 2, 3, 5, 10 years ago. So you have this new law that will come on stream, and which is a default law, because what you're saying is that you don't even have to come and apply. It will be something that is automatic.
An entitlement.
Entitlement. And then you have the current situation, you have the perfect storm.
Well,
and you're
I beg
dealing.
to disagree.
No, well, I'm going to give you an opportunity to disagree. This is why we're having this discussion. How do you solve the problem? Because when you give a house lot, it's not in the air. It's not a whimsical thing. It has to be a location. The land has to be clear. The infrastructure has to be put in, and we have the current limitations. How does the AFC government, and bear in mind, you guys were the AFC was in power before and could not deliver what you are now, could not even deliver on what now obtains, and you add in another 18,000 to that. So explain to me how you were not able to do it back then, and I'm saying you loosely because you were not a part of what obtained, but how were you not able to do it back then, but you're going to do it now, given the limitations of the administrative and the needs that all have to be in place to actualize what you're saying.
Okay. Thank you for the opportunity to deal with this, because it's not a particularly complex problem. You agree that this, first of all, is a structural issue. You have to have the correct structure. The fact that the system is failing now means they don't have the appropriate structure. The system is failing now for many reasons: corruption, delays, intentional diversions. If you have a digitized land registry, if you have the digital structure in place for the allocation of house lots, if you have the program in place for the administration of house lots, you know where your 15, 16,000 students are located, because that is going to be a matter of record. All of them would have entered secondary school. There would be some record that says where they're located. So if they're in quarantine, if they're in Region 9. So all of that is digitized. You don't have to have somebody manually working in this. They're working that out. And the system, once you have the program there, will say, first of all, we have developed in Georgetown or outside of Georgetown 20,000 house lots. This is the cost for putting the infrastructure in. this is the process by which you identify who gets what lot. So it's not a case where you go and you ask somebody, or see if you can move me further up. All of this will be done completely based on the programs that have been set out in the system.
There, we'll say, first of all,
we're going to reduce any possibility of human intervention. I want to make this point. Guyana is not even a medium-sized company in Europe or the United States or China or Asia. Guyana is 800,000 people. There are companies that employ more than 800,000 people throughout the world. We work with companies that have lawyers, in excess of 2,500 lawyers, scattered throughout 53 states in the United States. And they're all managed by a single entity. They all subscribe to the same program. So Guyana is not a complex problem. Guyana becomes a complex problem where we allow human intervention in the programs that have been set up. So if, for example, if you came from Prospect, you went to Prospect Secondary School, you graduated or you left school at 18, we know where your current address is. We know the scope within which you would be eligible for a house lot. All of that is in the system. It will automatically assign you that location. All of that is designed beforehand. What I will certainly say is, I don't agree in giving people 5,000 square feet. It's too small. We will say in the program, everybody should get at least 7,500 square feet per lot. We know what the standard cost is to drain. If it's in a low area, we know what the standard cost is to do that. And so the advantage of the technology is it makes it easier. You put in the information on the topography, it will tell you where you're likely to have low spots. Drainage is not particularly complex.
Okay, all right, I understand what you're saying. And I tell you, my mind, I'm very simplistic in my mind. And maybe that's a wrong term, because I'm listening to you. And maybe this is not a fair question. But your friends, including your wife, was a part of the last administration.
Absolutely.
And can you name one housing scheme that the coalition brought to fore in the 5 years that they were in office?
Okay, well, two things. I think just as how you pointed to whether the question is fair, allow me to point this out to you. Prior to 2015, the People's Progressive Party was in office for 23 years. 23, my friend.
Correct.
They had 23 years to come up with plans to design various social and other facilities for the country. Their coalition came into government in 2015 and effectively, as a government, ceased to be able to operate in December 2018, because after that it went into caretaker mode. That's the consequence of a no confidence vote. So they had 3 years. You are saying, why in 3 years did that administration fail to establish all these grand ideas, I imagine you're saying, in those 3 years? Well, I dare say, you're asking an administration in 3 years after having been out of office for 23 years, in that magical period, to do everything.
Okay.
What I will say is
Go
they
ahead.
certainly had housing programs, Perseverance. I went to the opening of Perseverance. That was during the coalition time. That whole housing scheme behind there. They put up duplexes, they had flat houses, several things. So if you're asking me for one, Perseverance would be the obvious one. I went to the opening of that.
Okay, how many
units? I can't.
Units.
I would be misleading you if I were to say to you.
So you're saying then that at least in regards to this housing suggestion you're making, it is not likely, because you're saying that 3 years wasn't sufficient time.
No. Let me say, I've just identified to you one that I can remember.
Right.
As you know, I wasn't in the administration. I can't remember all of them.
Okay.
But I've just identified, and the only reason I remember Perseverance is because I actually went to the opening. And I know that Perseverance, because I live in that close to that neighborhood, runs from Mucker Road all the way north to one of the canals. So it's quite substantial.
Okay.
So I'm saying they did. They did that in 3 years. And they actually built houses. They didn't give people house lots. Okay. They built houses. There were duplexes. There were flat houses. They built two-story buildings. And a lot of people went in. I had a secretary who I think applied and got one of those.
Yeah, because I'm thinking, so what you're saying is that the current backlog and the supposed inefficiencies that now obtain, that it is a matter of corruption and what is causing
Okay, so let me
of the problem?
let me put it the easier way. If just like CXC or any other thing that we manage, if you have a program, you put in the names, the program allocates the lots. The program says when the lots will become available to the person who's been awarded. Then you don't have human intervention. That is easy. You should not have a problem. Because if you go and you find 100 people or 100 people apply, you put in all the information faithfully.
And the computer determines. Okay, now
that's why I said it's not a complex problem.
But okay, I hear that. And I'm listening to what you're saying, and I'm giving you this opportunity because you're getting an opportunity to sell your vision. I am just interrogating your vision.
No, please.
Right. I'm saying that the computerization or the computerizing of the thing, I understand that. And I always wonder, I mean, if I might digress, why, if you're going to go to clear a barrel in 2025, you have to go to 4 different stations at Leparkan, and somebody has to write a bill by hand. Right. And it baffles my mind. Okay. You know, I could create a program for free for them, but that's just, I digress.
Can I just 30 seconds? Why, if a person applied for a house lot in 2014, that shouldn't be in the system? Everybody who goes now, and who had it 2014, they say we can't find it, we don't know where it is, come back, you got it. That's unacceptable.
Right. And I understand that. And so that is what I'm saying, that how do you turn, and I think I'm belaboring this point, how do you turn the ship of incompetence, the ship of corruption, the things that you were saying that cause the problem we have? Aside from the animation and the computerization, that is one aspect. Wendell Jeffrey grew up on Lane Avenue. He went to St. Pius or he went to South Georgian Secondary. They type that in. They say a house lot. The closest place to where a house lot are being developed right now is in somewhere on the coast right now. Okay, so I'm going to get a house lot up there. That is fine. But that's not all it takes. There's the infrastructural work that goes into
but that's
that.
a separate thing. Oh,
right.
Well, okay.
You understand?
Yeah, but that's easy. If you took a block of 500 acres and you said you wanted 350 house lots, streets, drainage, and lights, right now, we can find the program, we put in the dimensions, and it will give you that immediately. If you say you want middle-income houses, oh man, we're in the stage now, that is not going to take 2 minutes to come out. You will actually get all the plans. The cadastral, you'll get the plans for the homes. If you say you want a couple of cul-de-sacs, a couple of roundabouts. And the most important thing for me for housing development is that you have to have parks. You can't put down a development like Diamond and not have a park where people can go and walk about. A park got to be 20, 30 acres. People can go sit down, push their babies. And
I see they do that in China.
But all I'm saying is, it's easy. Right now, if you wanted to build a house, you can literally go and you can either select the design or you just say to AI what you want and you get a series of models. So we're not living in the old days where a man has to go and survey, then they got to come back and they got to design and they got to measure. That stuff is there.
Correct.
If it's swamp, you put in swamp and they tell you what you got to do.
Okay. All right. So good. So let me talk a little about education. Some of the things you mentioned, education is currently free.
Yes.
Right, in Guyana. They just approved the transportation they promised, the current administration.
We're better than that. Here's the problem with the approval. The present administration, I think, has approved the grant.
For transportation?
Yeah. Okay. Here's the difficulty with that. Depending on the economic circumstances of the parent at a particular time, if the time they receive that grant, they have a more pressing debt.
Right, the money will go to that.
The money will go to that.
So how you clarify how you envision.
What we are doing is we will have a national bus transportation system on the coast.
You're bringing in the transportation.
Where we'll have big buses.
Okay.
Now, all the schools are not along the coast, so you'll have smaller routes where smaller buses will make sure that the children get to school. You know, for if they're living in Bajivol and they're trying to go to school in Mahaica, you know what the level of time
You heard,
they'll be sharing.
you heard what the president said in regards to that, right?
No, I don't.
When someone asked about that, I think I hope I'm not misrepresenting him. He said that what happens when a bus driver doesn't show up on a route, and the reason that they're going to giving the parents the money rather than the government, he's saying what happens when you have a manpower issue and you have all these children on the side of the road waiting to catch this bus, and you understand?
I think that's, if the president asked that question, I think it's an unfortunate question. You've traveled to the United States of America, correct?
Correct.
You've traveled in Brazil.
Correct.
They all have these big buses.
Right.
And every day, they must have somebody who doesn't turn up for work. Doesn't mean you can't get from New York to Washington.
Fair enough.
Because you have a system in place that says you have a bus driver and you have redundant bus drivers. That's what they get paid to do.
All right.
Because not everybody's going to be well, not everybody's going to be sick. And these are basic systems. Okay. We're not reinventing the wheel. These are basic systems.
That now obtains.
But no, but obtained forever. Guyana had a bus service as a kid. I grew up in Survival. We used to get in the yellow bus.
For free?
No, I can't. 15 cents or something.
Yeah, I know,
like
because
that.
I know the
But all
bus
I'm saying
system,
is the difference between that and now is that instead of you paying 15 cents, the state provides the service.
Yeah.
And you have to have inspectors to make sure the standards are high. You had a turnstile to check and see how many people were in there.
Yeah.
So I think it's unfortunate if the president says something.
Yeah, like I said, though, my disclaimer is that I might be misrepresenting him, but I think I heard because
and
someone.
I'm only saying to you.
Yeah, if he said that, that's your retort. Yeah.
What happens? You book a flight in American Airlines and the pilot oversleep. You don't travel?
Yeah, I got you. Sometimes you don't know. Flight delays.
No, but it's not delayed. But
yeah, no, yeah. Okay. One of the things that I think I heard you suggesting is that the Guyanese citizenry should benefit more financially from the oil wealth. Is that?
Absolutely.
Okay, good.
Not just financially, they should benefit from it.
Well, benefit.
In substantive ways.
In substantive ways. Yeah. Aside from these things that you've highlighted, which are ways that they definitely benefit from that, do you think that they should be given more cash? That the Guyanese citizenry, like how the government gave that $100,000, that you would increase that amount?
Well, I would like you to be accurate
and
say that the Alliance for Change in July were the first people to say, do direct transfers. Professor Thomas said it 3 or 4 years ago in what was called the Buxton proposal.
Yes.
And as soon as I got elected, I said we must have direct transfers. The economic theory of trickle-down does not work.
Okay, good.
At the time, the vice president ridiculed it.
Yes.
They then came with $200,000 a family. Again, I think it was Mr. Jordan who was the first to point out that didn't make sense in our socio-economic circumstances. And then they did $100,000.
Right.
So the government is now attempting to champion something that was not their thought, was not their idea, and
something
which
that they
ridiculed.
Proposed. Okay.
Absolutely.
So talk to me then, or talk to us. What amount are you suggesting? How often? Take it away.
Okay. Again, back in July, when I made the proposal, I also said we need the economists to make a determination. We said 10% of whatever is earned from oil should be directly transferred. But we made that with the caveat that you want the best economists that money can buy to advise you on how that should be implemented. If it's 10%, whether it's 15%, they're the best people. We need to have the best experts speak on it. You don't want Nigel Hughes speaking on that, but we did say a agreed percentage of the wealth, because at different times the economy is going to be concentrating on different forms of economic development. So that's what we said. Secondly, and equally importantly, we said that you should have laws, a statutory framework to govern this distribution. It shouldn't be at the will of the party in power. Even if we went in, that has to become statutory. I don't want when Nigel Hughes decides, oh, April is a good month or my ratings are low, let me give the people some money. No, it should be set out in the statute because you want it to be predictable. People know on their birthday every year, they get in whatever their share is in the 10% or 15%. So it's predictable. It's not when a political party decides, oh, elections are coming up, or, oh, we have some supporters here who are getting restless, that we introduce it.
Okay.
Because...
But you can't say at this time, the current administration gave 100,000.
Yeah.
You cannot say, even though you're suggesting that it should be statutory and it should be more, you cannot say at this time how much more and how often.
Pastor Jeffrey, it's not a question of I can't say. If I say that the position is, it must be a percentage of the income earned.
Yeah.
So if I say $100,000 or $200,000 or $1 million, that still has to satisfy the core principle that I have advocated, which is a percentage of what it is.
Right,
so
and I'm asking you, because you're in a political cycle now. You're dealing with manifesto issues, you're dealing with campaign issues, and you are asking people to choose you, your party. And one of the things you're suggesting is that we will put a system in place so that you benefit more directly from the oil wealth.
Absolutely.
And so I'm asking you, have you spoken to any economists on this issue?
Yeah, we consulted.
And how much did they say should you promise at this pre-election time? Because people are listening, right? And the current administration is probably not wanting to promise anything because they're running the numbers. But you coming in and you're saying, look, 100,000 is chicken feed. Here is what we can do based on the information we got from our economists.
All right. You're looking for a soundbite.
I am?
Yeah. You want me to say Nigel Hughes says, we can give you $1 million. And what I am perhaps not clearly attempting to explain is, let's say tomorrow there's a crisis in the Middle East and the price per barrel goes up to $109 per barrel. Clearly Guyana's fortunes are going to go through the roof. Huge. I think we had that in 2021 during the COVID, 2021-22. So clearly you get a windfall of income. So if we get $7-8 billion as our share extra, then if we say 10% or 15%, every Guyanese is going to get more. So if they get 100,000 now, they might get 200,000. You're asking me for the sake of political expediency to say, well, what are you promising? You're promising $1 million, you're promising that. And I'm saying to you, as a responsible party, this is not about how we can just blow this money. It has to be done responsibly.
So I'm not looking for a soundbite. What I'm looking for is a reason to vote for Nigel. To vote for the AFC. And I'm saying to you that I am fairly intelligent. I'm not an economist, but I'm fairly intelligent. And what I'm hearing is you're promising to do better than what is currently happening than the 100,000. But you don't know for sure if based on your rationale, you don't know for sure if your economists will say, you know what, that 100,000 that the PPP gave those people, that was too much money. No.
Allow me if I could.
Yeah, just now. Because you tell me I'm looking for a soundbite. I'm not looking for a soundbite. At this point in the game, a month out from elections, you can say, given the oil prices today per barrel, and given my suggestion that 10% or 15% of the oil wealth should go to every Guyanese 700,000 people, here is how much money you should be getting based on the economists looking at this. If the AFC was in power this time, that 100,000 is chicken feed. 10% of the barrel of oil at barrel sell at $90 a barrel. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
So you could say that right now. Yeah, you can respond.
Our approach is a little different.
Okay.
One, we believe we wouldn't give people 100,000. You can't do much with 100,000. All that happens with 100,000, I'm sure if you do the data, which we think is prime, is that 100,000 got transferred into consumable items, means it went to the shopkeepers, the supermarket owners, and the people who sell in consumable items. And very little went into people starting their own business, which is what we want to build.
Okay.
So 100,000 for us is a complete waste of time. We prefer to give you a one-off payment initially before we come to this 10%. We say, look, you need to have a $1.5 million, a one-off payment, or $2 million, 10,000 US, a one-off payment which will be enough to allow you to either start or grow your business. And then when we work that out, we will then give you 10% going forward. 100,000 is literally transferring money from the treasury into the pockets of the store owners.
Okay, good. So you see how you've moved the goalpost.
I haven't moved.
You've moved the goalpost.
I haven't moved the
because you said
goalpost.
to me,
No, but it's how you frame the question. I'm saying how we approach it.
Yeah, but again, you're speaking, what you're saying is kind of semantics, because you're saying $100,000 is not sufficient. But a month out from the elections, when you know how much the price of oil costs today, you're telling me that you've consulted with economists.
We have.
And I'm saying to you that you coming now to do an interview, you could say to me now.
But I've just said what we.
No. You could give me a figure, because we have a figure right now. We have $100,000 figure.
And I've just
and you
said
saying
to you
that it was just a transfer, that it couldn't cause a person to start a business. The person couldn't make any significant down payment on a house or something of that amount. And I'm saying, you know, again, my mind is simple. You know how much a barrel of oil costs now.
And I'm sir, forgive me for not, and I apologize if I've not been clear. We get elected, our first approach in relation to transfer of wealth from oil to the citizens is going to be, we are going to give you a one-off payment of a minimum of $1.5 million, and thereafter we will give you 10% or whatever the percentage is that the economists recognize. The reason for that substantial one-off payment is to allow people to actually do something with it that is substantive. Buy a house, start a business, improve, expand their business.
Fair enough.
Which $100,000 cannot do.
I got
That
you.
is our position.
I got you.
If you're saying to me, oh, I can't tell you whether it's 100,000 or not, no, because our initial approach is going to be lump sum, direct transfer so that you can do something.
Correct. And again,
tangible.
Again, I'm saying that you could give an idea of how much that could be now, because you know how much a barrel of oil is now. So your economist could tell you right now, if AFC was in government, based on the price of a barrel of oil, this is how much your one-off payment could be. You could tell me that.
I just told you what the one-off payment would be.
How much?
I said a minimum of 1.5 million. I just said that to you 3 times.
Oh, so that was, I thought you were just calling the number.
No, I'm saying to you a minimum of $1.5 million.
A minimum of $1.5 million.
One-off payment.
Based on the current cost.
On the current cost, yes.
Based on the current cost.
Yes.
Let me ask a question that might be tangential to this. You notice what is happening proportionate to the citizens having more money. You notice what's happening to the prices in the market for pumpkin and bora and stuff like that?
Forgive me again, Pastor.
Yeah.
I don't know the citizens have more money.
No,
I know that prices have gone up, but I don't know the citizens have more money.
If you take a walk, and maybe I'm looking at it the wrong way, but if you take a walk on the seawalls, take a walk to any of the malls, if you look at the amount of vehicles that they have on the road right now, something is happening, and some parts, people are benefiting. They're driving more cars, they're taking their family out more, they're finding more disposable incomes from somewhere. And I don't know if it's remuneration from England and America, or if indeed people are making more money, because, right? But the question I'm asking though is, the prices in the market to me is disproportionately being increased. When you give, on winning the next election, a one-off payment 6 months, 3 months into your administration, what happens to bora and pumpkin, and what is the contingent?
I thank you for that question again. All surveys, I believe, have shown that cost of living is the #1 concern of all the citizens, okay? So you start to look at why are the prices so high? The cost of bora at the place where it's planted hasn't gone up.
Correct. Fertilizer is being subsidized.
Right. But the cost of moving that bora from the place of production to the marketplace has gone up.
It has?
Well, that's how you get the high prices.
You think so?
Well, allow me.
Okay, because I want to challenge that, but
if
go ahead.
bora costs $20 per whatever they call it to grow, when it gets to the market, it's $100. That's the price. So in the transportation of our goods, this before we come to the imported goods, in the transportation of our vegetables and food products, there is a huge markup between the place of production and the place where it is
resale.
sale. Okay? So we could say that we have food ability, but we don't have food accessibility, because if you don't have the money, you can't buy it. So one of our principal approaches is going to be to reduce that cost of transportation. So
Across the board or just for farmers?
no, it will have to be for the people who are producing, for farmers. We have to find a way to intervene to bring down the cost of moving those vegetables that we grow from the market there. Two, we also have to have a policy that increases the number of fruits and vegetables that are grown. Because as you know, once you increase the production, you increase the supply.
Supply and demand.
Right. So that the price, even at the place where it is grown, will come down. We plan to subsidize that in the interim to start bringing those prices down. Two, hold on.
Subsidize the transportation.
The transportation, the movement.
Okay.
The movement of the goods. If the
Right.
goods are coming from Northwest and they're coming on the ferry, we need to
I see
bring
what you
down the cost
Fair enough.
for it. Two, a significant amount of these prices is price gouging.
Okay.
So the state has to get into food security. So the state has to start acquiring food that it could release onto the market when it sees that the prices are going too high.
Okay.
It's called food security.
Yeah. I think
And there's also food sovereignty. The two are interchangeable. So the state has to start getting in through its various mechanisms to be able to store and release onto the market to
Right.
start keeping the prices
No,
down.
I think that last suggestion is probably a more workable suggestion. And I think that the state should not even wait. This guy who just won the preliminary thing there, the man in New York, right? That he's suggesting that the state of New York open these supermarkets and sell food at a reasonable price, which will control the price.
Which will have an impact. I
An
don't like
impact.
the
Well,
word
not control. It will have an impact.
Which will influence.
So that is what he is suggesting, which to me is what akin to what needs to obtain in Guyana to create a balance as to what's now happening.
Right.
Let me tell you why I don't think the first part will happen. I remember during COVID, I have some land on the highway. I would catch a minibus or a taxi from the Linden car park. The men said it was $1,000 for the car, $800 for the bus. The bus went up to $1,000, the cars went up to $1,500 because the men say we can't put 3 people in the back seat. So we can put 2 people to social distance, and so we can charge you all $1,500, right? COVID come and gone. You know they're still charging $1,500 and they're putting 4 people in the back seat now. So the rationale for increasing the price has been moved, but they're still charging you the same amount. In addition to that, prices for gas went down. They're still charging you the same amount. So suggesting that your government subsidizing the costs for transportation and subsidizing the produce or whatever they do not necessarily guarantee that these people will reflect that in their cost price. So I'm saying that your last suggestion, yeah, you can. Your last suggestion to me is the more workable because, let me finish my thought. You would now have to create a whole administrative body to now go around to East Penton's Market, Starbrook Market, the little mama pop at the corner of the road, and every region now, you would have to have a new body of people through your marketing corporation or wherever who is now policing every stand. Go ahead, explain to me how you would control the prices.
Your perception of what I'm saying is that the government will just issue a check to a man because he got a truck, and the truck is moving pumpkins from Lenora back down to Border Market or Stabrook, as the case may be. But am I saying the man is going to take the money, but he's still going to charge higher prices? Everything is data. We know what it costs per pound on a large truck to move a pumpkin. That's not determined by the truck driver. That's pure fact. The weight, the mileage that you would get from a truck of a certain age, the length of time it takes, and the amount of fuel. So people can't just jump up and say, oh, it cost me $1,000 to move one pumpkin. The state has the data. The state knows what the fuel costs. The state knows how many pumpkins could fit in a truck. The state knows what the capacity of the truck is. And therefore, when the truck driver says he's charging $2,000 to bring a pumpkin from Lenora Back Dam to Stabroek Market, the state knows the real cost is $1,000. Assuming you give the man 25% profit, you carry it up to $10 or whatever it is per thousand. If this man decides he is charging that, that's fine. You go ahead and do that. The state will then start to provide the transportation to move the goods from market, from source to market.
No,
you're not getting into a battle with people who
I
are going
got you. And here again, I'm listening with my simplistic mind. I hear you say.
But you're not allowing me to finish.
All right, finish. Go ahead and finish it.
So you're not setting up a whole new policing body. What you're setting up with is, look, all this information is public. We believe in freedom of information. If you tell a man it costs $2,000 to move it from farm to market, we say this is the real cost. And people will know. And when that starts to happen and more competition is there and the volumes go up, people will start making their money, not on exploiting the individual, but on the volumes.
All right, good. Now, again, I wasn't talking about the transportation provider. I was talking about the person who's selling the pumpkin because...
In the market, you don't know?
Yeah.
But that's easy. You got... The state owns... Remember, the state will have a food bank. So when they start to buy pumpkin to $4,000, and you know that the pumpkin at a reasonable profit is $2,000, the state will go and buy from all the farmers bulk pumpkin and then make it available in the market.
Right. Which brings me to another question. Because again, I'm listening to these things, right? And you're talking about creating manpower that doesn't now exist. You have to now create a system to manage what you're talking about.
You use AI. You use AI, right?
Yeah. AI is the front end.
No. Here's what, let me land. Forget AI. You can design a work system that reduces the opportunities for inefficiency. You see, you keep thinking that you need a man or a woman at every stage of this process. No. You actually need a modern Guyana. You think look at the farms in the United States. Actually, a relative of mine got married to a gentleman from Michigan. And we went to his farm, must be 4 or 5 years ago when we went to visit. This guy is 82 years old. He alone, single man American in Michigan, manages 300 fields. He has his huge plow, and then he has his harvester. He does not hire a single person other than after he's brought it in and they package it in. Unbelievable. 82 years old.
I don't doubt you.
So
hear me, Doc. I don't doubt you. Hear what I'm saying. I told you that to me, the last part of your suggestion is more workable. Because again, when you look at what happened in New York, what the guy is saying is the state is going to own these supermarkets.
I'm not even going there. I think that may be...
No, but
I know, that's what he's saying.
No, but the bulk, I'm saying
not going
the
that
bulk
far.
storage you're talking about.
Yeah.
For instance, if you have a bulk storage of pumpkin, how do you store pumpkin? And how long you store the pumpkin for?
Again, that's what the date will tell. If pumpkin has a shelf life of 5 weeks.
Good. At the end of 5 weeks, the state has $10 million in pumpkins.
Again, Pastor.
Yes.
It's not a case where you hold it for the 5 weeks. You are monitoring those prices daily. So if the program you have says release 2,000 pongs onto the market today, you release the 2,000 pongs, and it said tomorrow release 100 pongs, and the next day. So you will never end up with 5,000 pongs at the end of the shelf.
Fair enough. All right. Yeah. Let's move on. I do construction, both as a builder and as a person who employ people who build. 3 years ago, maybe 4, a laborer was paid between 3 and 5.
Not even 5. It's 3 and 4,000.
3 and 4,000.
It's 7 to 8,000.
A laborer.
It's $7,000 to $8,000.
$7,000 to $8,000. how do you avoid what is becoming the Dutch curse? And I'm asking a question in light of your one-off payment to these guys who would not come and store your concrete for less than $7,000 a day. These are guys that have no skill, can't read and write. But because you need them, you have to pay them $7,000, sometimes as much as $10,000 to store your concrete. And they get $100,000. When you give that man $1 million, who's storing your concrete? And how much do you have to pay to store your, and I'm not dealing with the contractors, I'm dealing with the man that you can't pay right now to store your concrete. Let me hear how AI is going to store my concrete.
No,
Go
I didn't
ahead.
say anything about AI can store your concrete. Pastor,
That was a shot across the bow.
I hear you. Are you seriously saying that we shouldn't give people $1.5 million because you might not be able to afford to hire somebody to store your concrete?
No, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm
Okay,
saying
well,
is how do you plan to mitigate that?
All right. So this $1.5 million isn't going to last you forever. Agree? If they get it. Once they get
But they
it.
get 100,000 and moved from 3,000 to 7,000. If they get $1 million, how much do you have to pay them?
You have to look at what the data says. Remember, the same men who we are paying $3,500 in 2022 weren't paying $4,000 for pumpkin. They were paying wherever it was.
There we go.
$1,500 for pumpkin.
Beautiful.
So you can't pick the 7,000 without looking at the cost of commodities.
I'm not.
Right.
I'm not.
So what perhaps you're asking is, after you put this amount of money into the economy, the pressure is going to push up the cost of living.
There we go.
And I just was explaining to you, one of the countermeasures is when the state starts to control, starts to buy and store its food resources and releases it onto the market on a program. You could go and charge $4,000 for your pumpkin, but if the state is releasing it at $2,000 and $2,500 a pumpkin, where you think the rush is going to
And what do you do? The laborers start charging $15,000 a day.
Again with laborers. All the contractors know where their bottom line is.
Correct.
Every single contractor.
Correct.
Therefore, every contractor knows what the maximum they can pay for a day labor.
Correct.
Nature abhors a vacuum. Have you noticed that most of the people who doing labor work now are Venezuelans? A lot of them are Venezuelans.
I beg to differ. Well, I beg to differ in the sense that you've maxed out your Guyanese laborers.
Okay.
So now you need, because of the expansion, the building expansion that is happening, yes.
There will always be in the market people who are going to offer their services at competitive prices.
Oh, those Spanish people are not charging any less. I hire them. Those Spanish people have learned
to charge
the same amount as the natives.
Right. So your contract, when you know what your bottom line is, you know what you can pay above. The other contractors would know that as well, because all of you are feeding on from the same trough, right? So the market is not going to suddenly come to a halt and stop because a man gets $1.5 million. It's the same argument they used to use with money transfer. People get more money from overseas so they don't want to work. But the rate at which Guyana is developing now and will continue to develop irrespective of which government goes in. I want to make this clear.
Okay.
Not because the AFC goes in, any government, if the PPP goes in, the APNU win, any government goes in, the trajectory of Guyana is going to be phenomenal because we got so much money and so few people. Those people who think they could sit down and chill out in the $1.5 million and don't invest it, other people are going to be willing to work. Other people are going to be willing to work, and you are going to probably find people, once we bring that cost of living down, you're going to find people cheaper than $7,000.
You find so?
It will happen. Listen, there's nothing, let me say this. The most important thing in managing a country is data, and everybody must have access to it. Unfortunately, under the present system, only the government has access to the data.
All right. Let's move on. But in my head, I mean, you know, you talk about the contractor. Let me just clarify this point. if I have to build a house, I'm a homeowner, right? I get my, EFC give me my 1 point something million and I want to build a house.
You can't build a house for 1.5.
No, I want to pay down and, I had some money saved, I want to build a house, right? It is me who now has to pay the contractor, who has to pay the laborer. So you understand? It is the homeowner.
You got to pay the contractor who pays
right.
the labor.
And if you have a situation like it's happening now, what it's doing, it's making it impossible for people who want to build because of the costs, right? It's a deterrent. We are at the top of the hour.
No, my phone is vibrating because somebody was calling.
Yeah,
Sorry.
all right. We have a ethnic challenge in Guyana. Particularly around this time, I was driving with a guy. I was in Essequibo a few days ago, and the taxi driver, he's Douglas. His father is Indian and mother, something like that. But he's saying that every election, there's a big guy in his 50s, he said every election time, his family, pull apart during the election. He's speaking not anecdotally, speaking from experience, that during election time, the racial disparity in his family raises its ugly head. How does the AFC plan to deal with that reality frontally?
I'm happy you asked that. The most important thing in dislocation of one ethnic group against the other, or the perception of dislocation, is true, honest data. So the first thing the AFC will do is gather data which will say which economic groups are disadvantaged in particular areas, and which economic groups are advantaged, and which economic groups are so significantly disadvantaged they need state intervention. So to pick the easiest ones, the indigenous people are perhaps the most economically disadvantaged in Guyana. So if we have that data, you then break it down. Is it housing? Is it in health? Is it in educational output? Is it in economic resources? There are no banks in indigenous communities. You can't get access to cash. Their culture is different. So how do you begin to elevate, for example, in education, the outcomes in indigenous communities? And the data will tell you. They fail in maths. So they fail 5% matriculating in Region 9. So you have a problem. And that's an emergency for me. You then have to examine it. Teachers not qualified, not enough teachers, children not getting the appropriate, and then you intervene. If you come to the coast, you're a contractor. Are you a billionaire yet?
No.
But there are several contractors who become billionaires in the last 5 years. Let's look at the data, what the data says. The contractors who become billionaires are Douglas, and if so, what is the reason? Because you have to have that data before you can start to address the ethnic.
So you find the ethnic problem that is financially driven?
It's more than financial. It's financial, it's social, it's access to opportunity, it's treatment by the state. It's all of those things.
Here. You have people who vote and have racial preferential that have nothing to do with finance. Right?
Always have had that. But that is an insecurity dilemma, because they feel that they have been either so targeted or so disregarded by other ethnic groups that they feel that they're more secure voting for their own. And that applies across the principal boards.
Correct.
India and Africa.
So I'm wondering how you make it an economic challenge, or you sought to go to where understanding the economics and the data to drive
let's come a little closer to home. It's power. You can't have a constitution that says, once I get one vote more than you, I get 100% of the power, and I get to tell you for the next 5 years how to run your life, and I don't have to consult you. No, allow me.
Yeah.
Our constitution says that's the reality of our constitution. No. We had an example of it in the last 5 years. Other than on the border, when has President Ali called Mr. Norton and says, hey, this is our plan for housing. This is our plan for, do you have any input? And no, allow me.
I'm with you.
Because our country is ethnically divided, people interpret that as saying the Indian president does not think it necessary to consult the African population unless he can pick out 1, 2, 3 of them and say, come over to me. In other words, he and his party is the only source of addressing problems in the country.
And I hear your pain, I hear my pain.
No, there's no pain.
No.
I'm just
I
telling
hear
the
your
facts.
concern. I heard what you said, I hear mine. When President Granger was running, 2015, coming up there, he promised that he's going to be inclusive and governance, and he got into office and never did it. So, and my thing.
I look like President Granger.
No. I'm just
Okay.
telling you
Just checking.
that it's that when you speak of the current administration, but when the former administration was in, even though they ran on that promise of inclusive governance, never did that a single person. Hear me. And because I'm passionate about this too, because I believe I'm where you at. It would be so magnanimous for President Granger, who I supported, to have broken that archaic, racist approach. I'm being crass now, because this is what we're talking about. And say, you know something? Let me bring some people into my cabinet. So while it is true that I would like this current administration to have done that, it would be so nice if that could be a promise in future administrations, so that we have this shaken up and we have this objective approach to some semblance of shared governance. So yes, while we can talk of this current administration not doing that, I am broken that the last administration didn't do it, because it was a campaign promise from the last administration, right?
Can I respond?
Yeah, I want you to respond, and I want you to throw in, how do you, because aside
How do I
from,
plan to solve it?
how does the
Easy,
AFC see that?
easy,
It's not an easy solution. Don't tell me it's easy. It's not easy.
But allow me.
Go ahead.
Allow me.
Go ahead.
You keep bringing this thing down to the decisions that are made by individual leaders. The AFC's position is, in a multi-ethnic society, you need a president that is supported by at least 60% of the population. So in other words, you can't turn president, like Suriname. In Suriname, the president has to be elected by 60% of the parliamentarians.
Correct.
That means the president can't run on an Indian agenda or a black agenda or a Javanese agenda. You have to set up the constitutional arrangements of the country, the constitutional architecture that forces the political parties
Correct.
to make sure
Correct.
you can't turn president unless you get 60% of the votes.
Correct.
And you can't get 60% of the votes if you only
So
rely.
are you calling for constitutional reform?
Oh, that's the only reason I ever got into politics, my friend.
And I don't doubt you.
But allow me again.
You, and
allow
I'm
me.
saying,
But allow me, because I just want your.
Yeah,
I
go ahead.
want
I'm
your.
listening to you.
I want your listeners to know.
Yeah, I'm listening.
I came back to study in 1988. Desmond Hoyt was the president. Desmond Hoyt was my father's good friend. And I got up on a guard platform with Yesu Prasad, Samuel Hines, and all those guard people to call for what? One thing, constitutional reform. The only reason I entered formal politics in 2011 was the constitutional reform. This is not about wanting to govern.
And what happened with constitutional reform under the last administration?
Right, I tell you, the AFC section put together a constitutional committee, which I headed, coordinated, and we, including Professor Lachman, Haslin Paris, Geeta Chandan, Stephen Fraser, several highly qualified people. We went out, we met with several people, including Ravi Dev, David Hines, canvassed a range of opinions. We put together a report, we handed it to Prime Minister Nagamutu. Prime Minister Nagamutu passed it up to the president, and it died. It died. But I'm just saying to you, for me, it's a waste of time trying to fight Guyana unless you have constitution.
And I agree with you. Only that what you've said, when
you
say,
you see, the difference between the two of us is you saying President Granger should have done this or that. I'm saying you don't give politicians that power. You
But you-
force them to have to.
But which comes first, because the chicken and the egg.
No, the
You
constitutional
said,
change got to come.
correct, but you went through the process of saying all the groundwork that was done for constitutional reform. Hand it to the prime ministerial candidate
And it
in the name
died.
of Mobutu. He hands it to President Grange and it died.
Yeah.
Good. So to me, you know, people have this, there's this saying, it's a layman thing, that the Bonham Constitution, no, everybody's got problem with Bonham Constitution until they get in power.
Absolutely.
Good. So I'm hearing President promised, or you run the, I'm hearing you say that. But it's obvious.
But I'm saying to you, I walked the walk. I coordinated the committee. I submitted
Did you
it.
come out, this is not a fair question, but we're talking. Is there anywhere on the record where, when your passion was shelved under the last administration, is there any documentation where Nigel...
I left, I was party chairman, and I resigned from the party chairman
You call a press conference?
Of course.
And said why you resigned?
No, let me land. 16th of March, 2016, less than a year that the coalition was in office, I left. I left in principle.
And the reason, where can I go and Google the reason why you left?
I did not publicly provide a reason because I did not want to be used as a basis to damage the Alliance for Change and the APNU. But it was a public record that I left.
I understand
Absolutely.
that. And that is the challenge that I have. The challenge that I have is that I'm going to go on record when things don't go.
I went on record, I left.
Yeah, but that's not, anyhow. All right, so let's do a couple more. I'm enjoying this. I hope you are too. How do you see this next election coming up? Do you think that AFC can garner sufficient votes to form the next government of this country? What's your internal polls telling you?
If we're not rich enough to afford polls anymore, I'm afraid. It is a question for the Guyanese people. I mean, I think we are in a new era. And let me tell you what I'm saying. It's not a cop-out. You have a party that is less than a year old that has shot to the top of the polls. From nothing to whatever it is, 60%. Never happened before. And that party is not made up of people who traditionally were in politics or had particular political interest or political policies. This is a very popular youngster, obviously very wealthy, very generous, who has become exceedingly popular. That's never happened because the battle has always been somehow or the other between the ethnics, except 2015 when there was a hope for a break. So you're dealing with a new phenomenon. Similar to the United States, you had Mr. Trump, didn't spend as much money as the Democratic Party, had 3 points, make America great again, 4. That's it. Ran and won. We're in a very disruptive era both in Guyana and internationally. So things are all over the place. Tariffs today at 15%, 50%. The world economic order is in some level of uncertainty. So for me to say to you, in this chaotic situation, that AFC will prevail or it won't prevail or Win will prevail or won't prevail, is difficult because Win, again, extremely popular. So has sanctions, people are not distracted by that. Huge turnout at nomination day. I think you had the biggest turnout. This is an Indian gentleman. Most of the people that turned out were African youth. So this is an interesting time. This is a time in which there are so many moving parts and dynamics that is, for me, it's difficult to predict who will do what.
You have come back into the political fray, obviously because you think you have something to offer Guyana.
No, it's not. Yeah, well, I suppose if you put it that way, I came back into it because I think where we were heading was into very choppy waters. I have a small skill set. People may or may not think it is helpful, and I put my hat in the race. If the Guyanese people reject it, they reject it.
But I'm asking in context because it is obvious that you think that you have something to offer, and indeed to have something to offer the next 5 years at least, should you become the president. Should your party not win the presidency, and should Mr. Mohammed win the presidency, can Mr. Mohammed count on you, Nigel Hughes, for support and governance and guidance on governance matter?
I will say this for whoever wins. The support of the Alliance for Change is not Nigel Hughes. It's not a one-person party. Depends on their policies and their programs. This is not an era in which the AFC is going to say, hey, we support you and we don't ask any questions. Absolutely not. You have to identify what your policies are, what your programs are, and how they are going to impact the population. If that is consistent with what our vision is, then yes, on those specific issues, you will enjoy our support. Where your policy, program, or your actions are against the interests of the nation, we will not be lending any support.
Is that a promise that you will make even to the current administration should they regain the governance? That you will help them on matters that align with the AFC's matter?
On matters that are in the national interest, yeah,
Yes.
like I said to you, irrespective of who wins.
Because the reason I'm asking that is, do you see any way that you could have helped? And I mean, I think that because he who forgets the past is destined to repeat it. So is there any way you could have helped the current administration?
But I just explained to you just now, Pastor.
Yeah.
The current administration, by its actions, never once consulted
with the current opposition.
the opposition.
Okay.
So I can't help you if you don't need my help or you don't want my help.
So the person have to make the overture.
No, it's not about who makes the overtures. It's about how we govern. Have you looked at the National Assembly? At any time? Do you see how we behave as a people in the National Assembly? Where we taunt each other about dildos and who... that's my point.
Yeah,
you wouldn't even bother to look at it because it is too difficult for your soul. And that's supposed to be our highest deliberative body. I have no desire personally to go into that. I've said that before to my party and I've said that before to my wife. I say to her all the time, I don't know how it is possible for you every single time they have parliament to sit down in there and listen to that level of abuse. Sorry. The way in which we as a country behave is appalling. And that's the form in which we deliberate upon national business. So if we're going to do the same thing again, my friend, I'm not sure I'm there.
Yeah, you're not. As we bring this very enlightening discussion to a close, I want to end with the question that I started with. Are you sufficiently satisfied that you can attract the administrative prowess to effect the promised changes that you are suggesting should the AFC assume the government of this country?
Have you asked that? We live in an era in which there is no skill, no talent, no ability or capacity that you can't buy or hire. We are fortunate enough to live in an era in which we have a lot of oil. If we want to be able to manage that, we have to hire the skills. Most of those skills are not in Guyana. That's perhaps why we ran into difficulty when we were trying to negotiate with people who clearly had infinitely greater capacity than we have. So my position is very simple. To manage this country, we will need the highest qualified, capable persons, and I said the Guyanese, persons, to advise the political directorate on what the appropriate policies are and what the consequences of bad policies are. It has to be data. So it's not a question of whether we have all the technical skills. I can say to you from the start, and I've said this before, on foreign affairs, unchallenged, I believe, is Mr. Carl Greenidge. There's no way in an AFC administration Carl Greenidge will not play a very significant role in the management of the foreign affairs of this country, particularly its borders. His record speaks for itself. There are other people of similar talent. There's Mr. Incinelli, former ambassador to the U.S. There is the gentleman in the in the People's National Congress, David Hales. This is real talent. And the AFC is not going to say, well, they didn't come with us, we're not going to have them. In economic affairs, we are going to go particularly to the best foundations and universities to advise us on how to manage an oil economy and make a modern Guyana.
You know what would have been nice in your submission there? If you had named one person from the current administration.
From the PPP?
Yeah, it would have been so nice to show, you know, you went there and there. It would have been nice, given the vision that you talk about. That would have been, that would have been the icing on the cake.
But hold on. I only identified 2 areas. I identified foreign affairs, and I identified the economy. I will be the first to say to you, Dr. Ashley Singh is real talent.
Okay.
Ashley Singh is real talent. Absolutely. There's no question about it. So it's not limited to people who are not in the People's Progressive Party at all.
I see. Two final questions. Are you sufficiently satisfied with the manifesto of the Win Party?
To be very honest, I haven't seen it.
Have you heard anything that they're promising that you're satisfied with?
But again, I don't like to, I'm not trying to avoid this. I haven't seen the Win Manifesto.
But you heard some of the promises.
But again, every time you hear something about somebody in Guyana, you have to look at who's saying it. If you go to the Chronicle to get an impression of Nigel Hughes, you will get one impression. You go to somebody else, I won't even say Kaichur News, you go to somebody else, you get a different impression. Yeah. So it depends on who you read. Win has a particular
the reason I ask is because has the AFC put out a manifesto so far?
No, we have put out several, but I'm going to tell you, we've put out several significant aspects of our manifesto.
In what format?
Oh, it's out there in the internet. I mean,
so
infrastructure development.
So Win has something. You see, that's why I'm trying to be objective. Win can say that they've done the same thing too. And you're saying that we haven't quite put out a manifesto, but we have sufficient information out there in which should guide whether or not you should vote for AFC.
Can I share something with you?
Yes, sir. Sorry.
Everybody, I'm sure, in this political race knows the days of long speeches, detailed manifestos gone. If you want to get a youngster's opinion, you got to get it in 30 seconds on TikTok. You're lucky if you get away with 3 minutes on Facebook.
Correct.
But a lot of Guyanese look at Facebook.
Correct.
So when you ask about the manifesto, in this happened in the last election, people don't read it.
Right.
What happens is the editors for the newspapers pick it up and they use it for various purposes, but nobody going through
you're making my point. You're making my
document.
point, and you would have heard snippets of
I've
the
heard
Win.
snippets
and
of
are you satisfied that what you're hearing is sufficient for you to support?
Win is not for me to support. Win is a phenomenon. Win, without policies, without a history of politics, is exceedingly popular. That is a statement on the existing political parties. Forget Win and their policies. That is a statement that there is a void.
Correct.
In this society that the existing political parties fail to see and address. So whether Win has a policy or not, Win is already established, has already established itself as popular. The rest of us, those who've been in the business before, we have to say, well, what is it that this gentleman has done to catapult him to where he is that we failed to do?
There's a rhetorical question, and you don't have to answer it. Is popularity a sufficient criteria for running a country?
The people alone can tell you that, my friend, not me.
You think
the
so?
People of Guyana have to tell you whether popularity is not.
You obviously don't think so because you're running to beat him. You obviously don't think that Mohammed popularity is enough to run the country. If you did, you would either support him or you drop out of the race.
I don't share your analysis.
Okay, fair enough. Like I said, it's rhetorical, so you don't have to.
No, but I'm just going to say why. We've been in the business of politics before Mohammed. So It's not a case where we came in because he came in. We believe in the power of our ideas. The two traditional parties had huge mass bases, unions. You had Gaisuku on one side, you had the labor union and other unions on the other side, plus they had huge ethnic bases. AFC never had that. Even in its heyday, it never had that. So our position has always been, we trust in the intellectual capacities of the people of Guyana to make a choice based on what we put forward, our program.
Correct. Correct. This is a thorn in your side. I want to end with a question that is a thorn in your side. Should you become the president of Guyana, what happens to your consultancies with Exxon?
I don't have any consultancies with Exxon. My law firm, or the firm in which I am a partner, and there are more than one partners, has a client called Exxon. The firm does not die because Nigel Hughes has left. The firm will continue. I have no personal consultancies with Exxon. Exxon itself has said, I do not provide any services to them.
Okay.
And it's not a thorn in my side. I welcome it because it gives me an opportunity to explain the same thing over and over.
All right. Take a minute, look into the camera, and tell the folks why they should choose Nigel Hughes above the other 6 persons who are vying for the position you're vying for.
It's difficult to say why me. I struggle trying to say Nigel Hughes. What I have to say is the Alliance for Change. I would say to the Guyanese public, look at our programs, look at our infrastructure development programs, look at the transformational programs we have for every living region. Look what we're doing for education. We're making sure every child gets to school, gets uniform, gets meals, gets $75,000 per term, because that is the future. Look at every single aspect of our program. Banks for women, financial support for women. Just look at what we offer. We are building a modern Guyana. And our position is, we can't build it alone. We offered from Jump Street when I took over, let the political directorates of the country get together and come up with 15 and 20-year plans in 5 key areas, because we must be able to have some goalposts which survive our electoral cycles. And that's what the Alliance for Change offers. That's what makes us different. Not Nigel Hughes, the policies and programs of the Alliance for Change.
Thank you so much, my brother.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate it.
Thank you for joining us on Election Insights. I'm Wendell Jeffrey, and this is open to all political parties. If you would like to come and sit and share your views, we have another month or so, we would welcome it. Thank you for joining. Please stay tuned for other editions of Election Insights. God bless. Bye-bye.